This is episode 2 of installing pixel lights on my roof line. In the last video, I showed a custom jig that I used to drill all this J channel out, and today we're going to install the J channel. This is just a test piece, but I wanted to show you what it looks like. On each end of my house, I have this finished cap. It looks like that. There is no hole on the side, but in these test pieces there is. So you cut the front, you cut the back, you fold it over, drill a hole in it, pop a rivet in, and then you're good to go. And obviously they don't have a hole on the end. Like I said, this is a test piece, but that's how it is on the end, and it works for me. Initially, I was planning to use these white gutter screws to install the J channel to the side of the house, but they don't go in very easily. I had to push pretty hard, and that's a recipe for disaster up on a ladder. So I opted for these self-tapping screws. These are silver, so if it bugs me, I may have to touch them up with some white paint, but that's all right. They go in so much easier. This is definitely the way to do it. If you can find these in white, that'd be even better. I'm set up with my cordless drill, my screws, and my 1/4 inch bit with a magnet. Those are going to fit right in there. I'm going to drill those right in. I'm setting up my ladder. I'm going to grab my drill and my screws and a piece of J channel. The end is going to be finished. It's going to go right here on the end. I would strongly suggest you have a second person to help you hand up pieces of J channel or also some scaffolding so that you can walk back and forth, or even better yet, one of those lifts that you can rent to, at a cost, of course, roll around your driveway a little bit, go up and down as needed. It would be definitely a lot safer. You can see this is the end that I've fixed and folded over. I would go ahead and put one screw in so it'll hold itself up, and then I'm gonna move my ladder over and put a couple more every so often as I go. I also put one on the end. Okay, so here's the first glimpse of what they're gonna look like. Pretty good. I need to fix that light. Here's this corner. I've got this little piece that I cut right there. I'm not gonna worry about that. But I've got my, and if these bother me, I'll just paint them a little bit of white paint. Same with this rivet that I did for the corner. And I just did every 5 or 10 holes. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and dry install this. And you can see I don't have a ton of room on the back side here to install the pixels. Hi, Riker. I'm glad, bud. So I can fit my fingers in there, but I'm gonna have to take this back down when I do the full install with the lights in there. Right now I'm just trying to see and get a dry fit, as well as see how many lights I'm gonna have to splice onto these first 2 strands. Here's a shot from the front. Barely noticeable. Over here you can see where it stops. Yeah, not super noticeable. I think it's gonna look great. Now I have to go around that corner right there, and then around that one, and then up. So this one's gonna be tricky. I'm gonna be making some cuts and doing some bending. So right now I'm measuring, I'm gonna mark and I'm gonna cut on here. I lost the next part of the video, so the next clip that you see is going to be when it's already installed. So I got this one up. You can see I just pushed it down in there as close as I can get it. I'm gonna need to drill out that hole a little bit to line those up, but that's all right. I cut this across here and then folded it right into that corner. I'm gonna take an extra little piece and cover up that edge. And then now I've got this one hanging way out over here into space, and I'm gonna cut it and bend it around that curve, and then it has to also be cut and go up. In this scene, I've got a straight edge, right angle, I'm marking it. I find out that I need to unscrew the last screw. I'm gonna snip it and attempt to bend it up the corner. I'm gonna have to cut out some more so that it'll go. It's a bit of trial and error. Once you do a few of these, it does get easier. And so yeah, I need to snip it even more. I'm cutting that at an angle. I'm not sure how or why, but as you can see, the camera is drifting on this part. So I'm just snipping off a little bit more, notching it out and getting it so that I can curve it up to go up the roof line. Here I'm marking how much more I want to cut off, and then I'm going to go ahead and snip that get it how I want it and set it right up there.
So I just kind of cut as I went.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Coming around, cut it on the underneath side, folded it around, then it's flat, and I cut that right here and on the back side at the same spot, folded it over, and then I went ahead and followed up my line up here, and we'll keep going.
I just wanted to mention that any imperfections are very difficult to see from the ground, especially if you have a second-story house. Links to the ladder I'm using, the pixels, and everything else in this video can be found in the description of the video so that you can get your own. Here I am setting a good angle and a good height for my ladder. I really love this ladder. It's an A-frame. It's also an extension ladder. It's just the best of both worlds. It is a little bit heavy, but it does work out great. I've grabbed another piece of the J channel, scale the ladder, and go ahead and get it lined up. I overlap the closest holes on each piece of the J channel and I get it as close as I can so that it'll be easier to push the pixels through. Go ahead and pop a couple screws in, and then I'm gonna need to move the ladder over so that I can keep installing this. This part is pretty quick, and like I already mentioned, I am going to show you how I install the pixels. I'm taking some extra care here. This is the tallest point of my roof, at least over here where I'm installing the channel for the lights. My garage door is 9 feet, so this is probably 16 to 8 feet up there. And I'm taking some measurements, marking my J channel. I'm gonna cut it on the front and the back so I can bend it and go ahead and get it installed. Like I already mentioned, I like to overlap the holes from going from one piece of J channel to the other, just to make sure that they're good and lined up and that the pixels are spaced out appropriately, and you got to get it up real close so that it'll still push through both pieces. So you can see here where I've cut it and folded it over. Then I got to get some screws in there and hold it up. To minimize the number of times I go up and down the ladder, I am wearing a tool belt. My drill has a hook on it that can hang from my tool belt as well as from the ladder. I also have screws in there, my tin snips, different drill bits, my speed square, a pencil, all kinds of stuff. Here I am moving the ladder to the next spot over, and I'm just going to keep screwing in screws and just, going along the roof line. At this point, as the height of my roof is getting lower and lower, I switch my ladder back to an A-frame, climb back up there with a next piece of J channel and start drilling it in. I really like the way that I'm doing this. Instead of taking a bunch of measurements and cutting and hoping I cut in the right spot, I just go ahead and install it, and then I cut just right where I need to cut. It's really nice how malleable this metal is. So I'm cutting it on the front and back. You can see it folds right over. Now I'm gonna do a bit of a horizontal spot so it's level with the ground. And then I'm gonna screw that in and then cut it again so I can go around the corner so it'll be nice and level. Otherwise, if I just folded it over, it would be pointing up to the sky, just how like the previous pieces pointing down with the roof line. You're probably wondering already how I'm going to get this to the other side of the gutter. I am just going to go behind it. After I've installed it, it does block one of the pixel lights, but that's all right. Here I am removing the rest of the screws so that I can get it behind the gutter.
So this is what the channel's looking like. I don't know if you can tell, but it's slightly different color than the metal that's there. I think overall it looks pretty good. I'm gonna go in and put a few extra pieces up there to fill in some of those gaps and such. But overall, I'm very happy with how it turned out. Even around these corners where I cut it and bent it, it looks pretty dang good.
I'm not sure how it happened, but it looks like I lost the footage of going behind that gutter, but that's what I did. I took it off, I put it in from the other side, had to move the ladder around quite a bit to be able to get it all in there, but I put some screws in and was ready to go. You can see in this part I did take a measurement because I'm starting with a full piece of J channel. It only had, I don't know, maybe 12-15 inches to go. So I'm marking that, I'm putting it in place. I can go ahead and put some screws in now, just want to make sure my holes line up, and then I can just continue the same process of cutting the metal, bending it around the corners, and installing. Now it's a little bit obvious to me, but I just wanted to mention, you can see that I'm not cutting all the way through the J channel to make it into two different pieces. I'm leaving one piece, usually, well, depending on depending on how it is, I want it to just bend around the corner. I want it to stay one piece so it'll be easier to screw in. And here you can see me going around those corners like a boss. I found that it's sometimes easier just to get a screw started on some of these a bit more intricate spots. If I had another person to help me hold it in place, it'd be a different story, but I'm just getting these started a little bit so that whenever I hold it in place, the screw's already there. I hold it with one hand, grab the drill with my other hand, and then I can just go ahead and drive them right on home. I know I'm talking a whole lot, but I just want to give all the tips and tricks I figured out as I was going. This is the first time I was doing this, but you'll notice that the end, the short end where I cut it, I slid it into the back side of the J channel that was already there, just to help hold it in place. And then yeah, once you get a screw or two in, it kind of just holds itself up. It's a little bit tricky going around some of these corners, the J channel. It's nice that it's as long as it is. I'm just going to throw in a couple screws, and then I do need to make that cut to bend it around, bring it around to the front. Now on to the next piece. I've already got this piece cut. I did a measurement. I slide it into the old J channel, get a couple screws in there, and then before the slope starts going up, I do the same thing. I have a little piece, I don't remember how long, but it's horizontal to the ground. I've got that cut already, and then I bend it up, put in some more screws, and get it up there. And you can see the J channel is a little bit too long for the crest of the roof right there. So go ahead and set my ladder back to the extension mode and get the right height and set it up against the side of the house. Climb right on up. You can see as I go ahead and lift the J channel into place, it does bend a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. This is the first time I'm noticing that it's bent like that as I'm watching and editing this video. In case you're wondering, I do go back and add more supporting screws. I just have to move the ladder around. I wanted to go ahead and get this side in place. Here you can see the process of using a level to get that little horizontal part good. So that's where I cut my lines, and just to get that so it'll go around the corner nicely. I also got to mention the ends of these and the corners of this J channel is very sharp. The gutters can be sharp. Watch your eyes. You'll see I'm wearing some safety glasses. I do not want to get my eye poked out. I don't remember cutting myself while installing this, so that's good. But see here, I'm screwing that in. I'm using a magnetic level. It is holding that in place right there. You can see that once you get the hang of it, it does go a lot faster. You got all your tools, got everything with you. You just screw it right in as you go. Here's a close-up of how I marked that. You can see my roof line already has a flat-ish spot right there, so I'm just, following along that. I'm cutting out a piece. I'm cutting it at a diagonal so that it'll bend around. I'm also having to trim it at the top so that it'll go around that corner. As you're reaching to install more screws, make sure you don't lean too far. Ladders do not like that. Ask me how I know. Here I am taking the final measurement for this part of my roof line. I'm going to transfer it over to the J channel. I'm cutting it long so that I can trim it around just like I did on the very beginning one. I've moved on now to the upper part of my roof. I've already put one piece of J-channel up, and this is kind of scary. It's scarier than it looks. There's a little bit of snow up there, so it's slippery, and I'm basically just trying to stay up against the house as much as possible. Same process as I had done before. I'm just taking this and transferring them all over to the roof line, finishing it up real nice. I realize all houses are different, and your roof may not be built like mine, but you can probably find a good way to install these. Maybe you have to get the metal in a different color or something along those lines, but I really hope this video helps you figure out how you're going to do this yourself. Feel free to post questions, and I'll provide as much help as I can down in the comments.
Yeah, bud.
Can I have a Dorito?
Sure.
Well, that concludes the process of installing the J channel on my house, and I'm looking forward to the next episode where I bench test the pixels and show my plans. Please stay tuned, like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we will continue on with episode 3.